Right, hello. It is a few days off December. It's sunny, but spitting with rain. I'm just trying out my new gimbal. So I did go back and watch a couple of my old videos, and they're pretty rough and bumpy. So I thought I'd invest in something to give me a bit more stabilisation. So I have done a couple of jobs yesterday. The main one sort of cut down most of the canners, and I tend to do the chop and drop, where I literally just, let's have a look. So I had a big clump of Musabashu here. No, Musabashu, this is the Musabashu. I cut the leaves off that. I had a clump of Musafolia canners, and now you can see just all the leaves and the stem I cut down into chunks of a couple of inches. So put all the chunks down first, leaves on top, then a little bit of mulch on top just to hold the leaves in place, so they'll slowly rot down over winter and insulate the rhizome. Some of the smaller canners, I simply chucked some mulch over, so there will be some piles of mulch around the borders, but that is to protect the rhizomes, and then in spring I can just sort of spread that out. That will help to feed the soil as it rots down. So I've done exactly the same thing with the gingers or hedychiums. Again, chop and drop, is chop all the leaves off, drop them over the rhizome. That should be enough you'll get a layer of air in there, and the leaves over the top, so it keeps it a little bit dry and a little bit warmer. So there's a good example of the stems and whatnot chopped down. So that was one job that was done, and then another one sort of a minute to do for a while is the gunnerer. So again, straightforward with that. That's just a case of chopping the leaves and stacking them smallest to biggest, so that'll protect from any frosts and the worst of the weather. Protect them growing points. So that's what that looks like. I did get round to chopping all the canners I had in pots with literally just chopped all them off, and I'm gonna put these pots somewhere sheltered next to the house to stop them freezing, and that should be enough protection for them. So what else are we looking at? The new Trappicarpus seems to be okay. We've had I did mention when I put it in that it had some really thick, sturdy leaves on it, but I've had a couple that flopped down, maybe due to the wind, maybe just due to the fact that it's when I got it in the car I did sort of bash it about a bit, or maybe it's just because it's sort of in recovery mode after the root disturbance, and it wants to settle in and get up to full strength once it spring, summer next year. we'll see how that goes. Obviously when we put it in, we've got a couple of leaves open and we've got a spear there. I haven't noticed any movement. Obviously it's only been a couple of weeks, so again I don't expect anything to happen there as such. We'll see when we start getting some warmer weather next year. Right, something else we just want to address. So we've got a Washingtonian Robusta here, which started to open a leaf in this cold weather. So obviously you can see quite a lot of yellow there. Nothing to worry about. Obviously the plant's not in full growth. It's at the stage where it ought to open, so it started to open, and it's just not getting full nutrients due to the cold weather. So that may stay yellow, may get frosted off over the winter, but not concerned about that. There's just a few little things to take note of. The big Washingtonian Robusta again is looking absolutely fine. I have noticed a few people mentioning on the videos about the certain palms. Washingtonia is definitely the most prominent for this. When you get the cold, you can see like a two-tone in the leaves where you get the cells sort of when they get cold. That's sort of a protection mechanism. The cells will draw up, so you get a sort of mosaic pattern, if you like. But as soon as the weather warms up, that'll even out to normal green again. So we have had a light frost this week. I think it was Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. I think the temperature's got down to just over 1 degree. Apart from that, we've been frost free, so nothing's looking too worse for wear. Still been fairly mild. It's not been warm by any stretch, but it's not been cold. We've had about 7 to 8 degrees during the day, and on average probably about 4 degrees at night, apart from that one cold one. But one other thing I did want to mention is I did have a little sneak peek in the summer house earlier, and as it's now starting to rain a bit more, we'll go in there. Maybe you can probably not picking it up on the camera, but yeah, it is sunny but raining. So we'll have a peek in here because we've got something interesting happening. So it's a bit warmer in here. So like I said, we did have a frost earlier in the week, and I've got a maximum and minimum temperature reading here. So at the moment it's currently nearly 11 degrees. Lowest it got in here is 7.1 and the highest is 20. So during the day, you know, the sun's out, it does warm up in here, a bit like a greenhouse. But it's a bit obviously better insulated than a greenhouse with the bubble wrap and obviously wooden walls. But we've got the little heater running there. It is a 2 kilowatt heater. I've got it set on the 1 kilowatt setting. I've got it set pretty low on the maximum minimum. There's no actual temperature setting, you just have to sort of play about with it. So telling me that the lowest has dropped in here is, you know, 7 degrees. I could probably turn that down a little bit more because I want to keep it around 5. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to point out, the bird of paradise. So I've got three types in here. We've got the giant bird of paradise, which is Strelitz Nikolai, which is the white bird of paradise. I've got a standard, this is the standard orange and blue flowering type, and then behind that there is the gold form, and this is a flower spike now coming. So even I think the cold stress can often bring on the flower spike, so I don't know whether it'll actually flower until next spring or whether it'll just start doing its thing. So this here is the flower spike, and the same thing, you can look past, this is a flower spike on the gold as well. So I thought that was interesting, because these I've had these for, I don't know, 2-3 years from a fairly small plant, and they've never flowered, so this is the first time I've had flower spikes. So we will see if that's gonna flower over winter or wait till spring. But yeah, apart from that, everything else is doing okay in here. Noticing the king palm at the back there. There's actually 3 plants in that, and 2 of them have now opened new spears, so they don't seem to mind the cold. They are more cold tolerant than a lot of the, I don't know if you look at the royal palms and similar looking palms that look sort of quite tropical. These are a bit more of a cold tolerant, and not cold hardy, but they have to tolerate the cooler conditions, so I'm hoping they're gonna be okay over winter, and we'll see on them ones. But again, because they've been grown from seed and they've been used to the conditions I've been growing them in, that they're obviously, if you bought one of these, I don't know, imported or from a deal or whatever, you don't know what conditions they've been grown under. They could have been, you know, grown in Spain, and you bring them into this environment and they'd probably die straight away. But because these have been grown from seed in the environment I can give it, you know, cooler conditions, they'll tolerate that quite well. So let's do a quick look round. Again, Livingstone chinensis, looking perfect. Queen palms not looking overly impressive. They have started pushing new spears, but they're obviously going to be very slow this time of year. These are the hardier mountain form, but they are still quite slow growing. Interestingly, the Alocasia Sumo, which is one I mention a lot because it seems to be quite cold tolerant, totally unfazed with the cooler conditions. So I have had these in the greenhouse all over winter. They don't seem to drop leaves at all. They don't seem too stressed. They just sort of sit there dormant and then now kick into life again in the spring. So that is one of the best options if you want a nice Alocasia. You can see the back of that leaf. They do get a decent size. Let's have a look at this. So we're looking at the triangle palm here. Still a little bit of dampness in the soil. I haven't watered this since I brought it in, because anything in a big pot is going to hold on to a lot of water. You know, it's not going to dry out, especially in the cooler conditions, so I don't expect to be watering much anything in here, to be honest. Not for a while. Like I say, anything in big pots is really going to hold on to that moisture. And the top layer is pretty dry. Yeah, fingers have come out pretty clean there, so it's dry on the top level, but you get a couple of inches down, they're still damp, so you certainly don't want to be overwatering any plants in cooler conditions. You don't want to root rot. But one exception I found is this cordyline superstar. So this is like the nice wide leaf form, a bit like the red star, but just, you know, really glossy leaves and a lot wider leaves, and they seem to grow a heck of a lot quicker as well. This is a small, half the size of this when I got it in spring, but that I can see by the way the leaves have started to curl a little bit. That's quite dry, so I will give that a drop of water along with the bird of paradise. I think could do a little drop, but yeah, it's just a matter of a little bit of thought and a little bit of checking before you do water anything in their greenhouse environment, or you know, anything over winter that's kept cool. Don't think, oh, it's watering day, I'm gonna go around and water everything. Check everything individually, make sure it needs water. I think I've done a video on these last week, an update on the some of the palms I got off eBay, and when I repotted these about a month ago when I got them, I gave them a good water in, and I haven't watered them since, and just due to the fact that it's, you know, temperature, that they don't dry out so much, and you definitely don't want to keep them sitting in damp soil conditions over a long period of time, because you will get root rot and lose your plants. Right, so that is what is going on in the summer house. I did bring in brugmansias. So last year I actually left these out in the garden all winter, and we had a bad winter and they still grew back. They did die right back, and you see the dead stump here, but got all new growth and they flowered okay. I'm not a fan of the brugmansias. You seem like they're a magnet for every pest going. The leaves always look a bit stressed and damaged with all the insects attacking them all the time. But you know, they do flower well, so I'll try them again next year. Right, let's finish up, see if it's, the rain's held off or not. Yes, stopped raining now. The clouds have come over a bit. So we did, most of the UK got a bit of a storm this weekend, Storm Irwin, and we didn't seem to get it here. So obviously I think Scotland and sort of Midlands took the brunt of it. It went over sort of west way rather than, because I'm right on the east coast of Suffolk. I think they got some in Norfolk, but it didn't quite make down to Suffolk, so that's a bonus, because we had some really strong winds apparently, but not here. You can see it's actually fairly calm, and the leaves on the trees are slowly dropping, as you can see on the shelter. So I don't do anything to tidy up these leaves, you know, I let the wind blow them into they tend to get blown into the borders, and I'll let them naturally mulch and rot down the borders for me, let nature do the work. Maybe if I had a mild dry day, I might get the old lawnmower out and do the lawn just to pick up the leaves, but I'm not too concerned. Right, it is starting to rain again, so we're gonna call it a day at that. Thanks for watching.